Hey everybody, welcome to Love and Relo, the voice of the relocation industry. I am your host, Ben Cross, and I'm here with Randy Wilson, the CEO and president of NEI Global Relocation. Hey Randy, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, Ben.
This is so much fun.
It's going to be.
It's going to be.
It's going to be.
We're going to get there. All right. We're going to get there. And you're coming with us today. So thank you for being here. If you are watching right now, do me a big favor. Hit that like button. Go ahead. Throw something in the comments as well. Let us know who you are, where you are, what you're up to. Give your company a shout out. Say something nice about somebody. Maybe Randy. Also, if you want to ask some questions as well, we're going to be taking questions. So feel free to pop those in the comments as well. We're going to be kind of just having a nice little conversation here. Randy, we are in Omaha, and this is my first time in Omaha.
A nice, pleasant surprise, I'm sure.
I love it. The weather's gorgeous. The people are so friendly.
That's great to hear.
I'm honestly, I mean, they're really nice. This is wonderful. I'm loving it. Well, see, I grew up in New York, so I mean, I can't say enough about how the people are. We got people chime in. Let me know if you've been to Omaha before. Let me know. Jamie Masser, hi, Ben and Randy. Cheers from Sunny, Mississippi. Looking forward to this show. Jamie, good to see you, buddy. Stephen Meyer, there you go. Emporia, Kansas, the founding city of Veterans Day. Okay. Stephen Meyer is a household goods driver out there. Be safe, Stephen. So let us know how it's going this summer out there. Stacy Huff, super producer Stacy, looking forward to the show. She has to say that. Thank you, Stacy. Appreciate you so much. Here's a Stacy that tells the truth. Hi, Randy and Ben. I can't wait to get back to Omaha to visit everyone. Stacy,
nice.
Look at Stacy.
She's been
Rocket Mortgage. I'm working on it, Stacy. I'm trying. Tim Quirk, hello, Randy and Ben. Wonderful Western New York is excited for today's show. Awesome, Tim. Appreciate y'all. Rob Zeitz. Hey, I want to hear questions out there, Rob. You always got some great ones. Boston Air Inc. in the house. Pam Jacknick.
Hey, Pam.
Yeah, Randy. Okay.
All right.
There we go. Pam's been on the program before. Good to see you, Pam.
She has.
Pam, I would love to hear one thing that people don't know about Randy. Throw it in the comments, and we will give Randy a little shout out there. Jana, loving to see this happening. Jana from Rio in the house. Brazil's here. Al Bloomberg. Randy is great. Al. You know, Al's another one of those people that I've always wanted to meet, and I've talked to him. I've emailed him. I don't know that I've actually had the pleasure of meeting Al Blumenberg.
Well, October. We'll have to make sure that happens.
I cannot wait. Al, you are on my bucket list, Al. Rita Wall, hi, Ben and Randy. Super excited to listen in. Thank you, Rita. Kelly here. Excited for the show. Jill's here. Pam. Can't wait for you to hear from our leader. Yes. Look at this. Carlene is here. Look at y'all showing up. I'm a New Yorker too, and I love Omaha. Thank you, Debbie. It's something. It's a revelation here. Hotlanda's in the house. Karen there. Rita checking in. Jim Brooks. Omaha's still on my bucket list. That's right. What is something people don't know about Omaha, Randy? I'm putting you the unofficial tourism guide for the city of Omaha. What is something they don't know? They ought to know.
Oh boy, I think everybody knows that it's the home of Warren Buffett.
Yeah,
so
I've been looking. Somebody said, "Did you see Warren Buffett today?" I said, "No, I'm gonna keep looking. I'm hanging around McDonald's till he shows up."
There you go. That's right. We have Boys Town here, which is a huge organization, and Kate Dodge actually sits on the board of that.
Oh.
So a lot of involvement, a lot of community involvement there, and our zoo is fantastic.
Okay. See, You know what? And I wanted to come here a few weeks ago, and I was trying to make it happen, and the schedule just couldn't line up. But it was actually the College World Series. I'm kind of lucky I didn't show up. I was.
Crazy.
John was trying to get a hotel, and she got me a Holiday Inn for $450 a night. I'm like, John, is this right? And I didn't realize it was the College World Series.
That's when maybe we aren't as nice when those hotel prices go up.
That's it. That's it. Hi, Randy, for Ben Heller. Ben Heller, good to see you. Look at that. Looking forward to seeing you at the GPA Summit. Cheers. Yeah, I'm looking forward to my first partner meeting in October too. That's so exciting.
We're looking forward to having you.
That's awesome. Look at this. Greg's here. Andrew Cox here. Look at this. Look at this. Bridget Ritchie.
Hey,
everybody's here. Fantastic. Rob. Look at Chicago. Ben. Al. Can't wait, buddy.
Hey,
Can't wait. Jack Jampel. One of the best friends of the program here, Jack. I'd love to get a question from you, Jack, for Randy here. Jack loves Omaha. That's fantastic. Lynn Ripley, shout out. We could do this for a long time. Vivi checking in from London town. Hey, Vivi, I'd love to have a question from you as well today. I'm going to start. I always like to start with some fun little things. I'm sitting here in your office. We're in Randy's office right now. Okay. So I'm sitting here in your office, and I can't help but notice some beautiful horses and your affinity for horses. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I'd love to. I got into horses at a young age, but took a little hiatus from them as you go through college and start building up your working career.
They don't really fit in the dorm room, do they?
They don't.
Horses?
They don't. And then eventually you need a car.
Mm-hmm.
So, life gets in the way sometimes. Mm-hmm. But I started training horses. And I think one of the fascinating things about me and horses is that when I was training them, I started to learn and become a better leader, which probably sounds odd, maybe a little different. But there's a lot about communicating with a horse. You have to do it without talking. Right. So there, some of the things, I'll just give you some examples that I learned. So if you have two individuals on a team that maybe not quite getting along,
I'm usually one of those individuals.
You put both of those individuals on a project together, just the two of them, so they have to learn to work together, right? And so with horses, what we did with horses was we'd put two of them in the trailer that didn't get along, and we'd take them on an hour ride. And when they came back, they got along fine. So somehow they worked it out among themselves. So give them credit, they can.
Isn't that's so counterintuitive, because you would think I would think, honestly, I would never do that. I would just keep these two people as far away as possible.
Right.
Because, then you just figure it's going to get worse with proximity. But then folks just sort it out.
They figure it out.
Gosh. It sounds like there's some marriage counseling in that as well. I might bring that one home with me.
Yeah. Another thing that I learned, if I could,
please,
is just, when you want a horse to do something, you're giving it cues. So if I want the horse to go to the right, I might just be in the middle of the arena, but I'll step a little bit to the left, and the horse is going to go to the right. So without talking or without, giving any harsh commands, the horse is doing what I want, just by applying a little bit of guidance and a little bit of, I guess you could say, pressure, because that's what the horse feels. Oh, I can't go that way. I better go this way.
Right.
And
non-physical pressure, just pressure, spatial pressure. Almost.
Yep. So I think that really lends itself to, let people guide people and let them find their way, so to speak. So there's a whole lot more.
This is so interesting to me, because as I've gotten to know you through the process of kind of leading up to the show and everything, I sense that in you, that you kind of lead with a softer style, but you kind of use these maybe non-verbal kinds of cues. It's interesting. I feel like I'm learning here. I'm learning. If you have questions, throw them in the comments. I'd love to know what you're thinking out there as well. This is great here. So I want to know, you mentioned Kate Dodge earlier, and I want to know a little bit about the history of NEI.
Well, that's my favorite subject, so I'll be happy to tell you.
Please do.
So what some people might not know is actually my mother and I worked for another relocation management company a long time ago.
Okay.
She had been there 17 years, and I worked with her for the last 5.
Was it in Omaha?
In Omaha. We had 3 at one time.
Really?
Yes.
Which ones, if I can ask?
It was TransEquity, and Maynard had one that went through all.
Maynard. Shout out to Janet Turner. I was talking to Janet Turner. I said, I'm going to Omaha tomorrow. She's like, I used to have a client over there called Maynard Relocation.
There you go.
Ask Randy. I was like, I'm not going to ask Randy about Maynard Relocation. That's so funny. So, hey, that was for you, Janet, because you asked me to ask that question. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so we had it, but that was about the time that, today it would be Carta's, but then I think it was Home Equity came out with home marketing assistance. That was very innovative in the 80s. And by golly, everybody next day had home marketing assistance. Maybe didn't know what it was, maybe didn't know how they were going to do it, but, you had to provide it. So we really felt that there was service was missing in the industry. So my mother and I went out and put together a program, and we approached the MP Dodge company because we felt that they had the best reputation, highest level integrity in Omaha. And obviously back then it was a lot about real estate. So Sandy, who was the president at the time, Sandy Dodge, he said, well, we'll give it a try. And that was 30, almost 6 years ago now.
Hold on. Okay,
Yeah.
hold on. This is so great. I don't know if y'all are picking up on this, but there's 3 relo companies in Omaha. Is this before the third? Y'all were the third at the time, or is this there were 2 at the time, and then you?
We would have been 3.
You would have been the third. So so there's 2 companies doing this. Everybody's hanging a shingle saying we do marketing, home market assistance, and y'all said, well, hey Sandy Dodge, why don't we do it with you, and we could show you how to do it.
Right.
And he's like, all right,
yep,
I guess.
I think he had a little hesitancy, but he had a lot of faith.
Did you know going into that meeting that you were going to get the green light, or what was your thought going into that meeting? If you can remember.
Well, I can remember. And if you knew my mother, I was pretty sure we would get the green light.
Oh.
She'd been selling since she was like 8 years old. So
yeah. Wow.
I thought it was good.
And then you came out of that meeting and okay, fine. And then, so then what happens? As an entrepreneur, I'm fascinated by these stories. So then what happens?
Well, I think one of the important things was we came to the company that we thought was the right partner for the business.
That's
the one who could support it and bring value.
Why was that important to you, and why was that NP Dodge?
It was important to us because we knew what it took to have a company like that. Mm-hmm. And we knew that you needed to have the integrity and the ethics and the devotion to just customer service and your customers, mm-hmm. right? And we saw that in NP Dodge. So that's why we came to NP Dodge. And then we talked with Kate, who's Sandy's wife. Mm-hmm. And she was a school psychologist at the time. Mm. She was Sandy talked her into taking a 1-year hiatus, so to speak, Mm-hmm. And what she brought was all of those soft benefits mm-hmm. that were so missing at the time. And what I brought were all of the business knowledge. Mm-hmm. I knew things from accounting to mm-hmm. the insurances to, the home sale programs.
So you brought the relo. Sandy's company brought the real estate, and then she kind of maybe brought this empathy and this kind of voice of the customer kind of vibe.
Exactly.
Very cool. I'm seeing it coming together now. This is really cool.
Yeah. So it was, I think, a great, I can't say marriage for Kate and I, but it feels like that, especially after 36 years. And we taught each other what we knew. Mm-hmm. And I think because it was such a great partnership, we were able to deliver on that service that we were after. Mm-hmm. I mean, our original mission was service exceeding expectations. And that is our mission, simply stated mission today.
I love it. Now we've got some questions coming in. Keep those questions coming, y'all. I want to ask as many of those as I can get to. Sandra Clary says, integrity, ethics, devotion to customer service. That sums up great partnerships. Very cool. Mm-hmm. Caroline Boyle, hello from the UK's Lake District. Great to hear about NEI's origin story. Vivi says, hi, Randy. Love your stories and analogy. It's pretty cool, right? Yeah. I'd like to understand a bit more about where you get your regular inspirations from. What inspires you? Where do you get inspiration?
Everything I look at, everything I hear. Mm-hmm. One of the most important things I ever heard was your next best idea is going to come outside of your industry. Mm. So keep your eyes and ears open. So I get inspired by just about everything that I read or I see. And I figure out, is there a way we can use that? Or can we improve our service? Or can we improve our offerings? So I really get inspired by just about everything. Ask a lot of my team members are on here. A lot of my leadership team is on here. And they know how many questions and ideas that I can throw out at them at one time.
So I want to talk about that, though, about the best ideas coming from outside the industry. And this is a fascinating topic to me. I love that idea. What ideas from outside the industry right now have the biggest opportunity to transform the way that we do business?
Well, I just look at, it's not necessarily transforming the business, but I look at, we have to put our own pressure on our for our employees, mm-hmm. right? So like on pay scales or mm-hmm. benefits or things mm-hmm. like that. when you find out that McDonald's is doing something, you think, I should maybe do that. Or when I see McDonald's has the kiosk in there, I think, how could we put a kiosk into our technology, so to speak? I want to order these things up.
Right.
So that's just an example of how you look. And I think McDonald's comes to mind because my granddaughter was back for 30 days from Virginia. And I can't tell you how many times we went to McDonald's.
Little known fact, people from Omaha love McDonald's, okay? Smart entrepreneurs from Omaha love McDonald's. No, but I think you're right, though. I mean, making our services easier to select and understand. I mean, that's the idea of the kiosk, right? Is that you can put this kiosk there and people can self-serve in a way that's actually maybe a little more satisfying and even provides maybe a little more options. I mean, I look at these that are popping up in all these, Sheetz gas stations or Wawa's or some of these amazing little, fast food restaurants where you can customize things. I even saw them popping up in bars where you can kind of customize, order drinks. You don't have to wait for your server to come around.
Right.
You order a drink, throw 3 limes in there. Why don't you? Whatever you want, full
Exactly.
customization, Do you think that we will get to that in relocation? Because, a lot of folks would argue that some of the self-service technology that's coming around maybe is disadvantageous.
Well, I think there's always going to be a place for all the different levels of relocation.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's always going to be those individuals that are in high demand and they need extra services, more service. And then there are going to be those that are much more adventurous, starting their career out, and they want to pick and choose. But even at McDonald's, you have that individual that's still standing behind the counter. So if you get stuck or you need something,
right,
you go to them.
Mm-hmm.
So while it might be at the front end for some people, it's going to be important to always have an individual behind it to help. Our youngest son, the only one, is a millennial. Mm-hmm. And the last thing that he or his wife want is to be left completely on their own to do anything. I mean, they want to be able to get their data and they want to be able to look things up and they want information, good information at their fingertips.
Right.
But they want somebody to say, here's the better way to do that, or here's what you can consider.
I relate to that because I'm a millennial as well. I always like to drop that. Everybody watches the show knows I like to tell people that. No, but I do. I think I like speedy. I like speedy service. But I also like for an expert to come along and sometimes, and I say, I'm a salesperson. I say, just sell me something already. I'm trying to buy a car. The internet salesperson calls me up last night at 8:46. Lovely young lady, Cassidy. And I said, all right, Cassidy, well, sounds good. I'd like to buy this car. And she's like, well, I'm not a salesperson. I was like, well, you're the internet sales team, sell me a car. And she's like, well, I'm not a salesman. And so we went round and round with this. And but sometimes you just need somebody to recommend something and give it to you and make it happen for you. Right. Intercede in a way that makes these services happen for us. And I do agree with you. I think that the human element is so important in what we do, but we do need to find ways to make it fun and easy and intuitive to buy our services.
Exactly. And I think that's what, if we are not working on it out there, we certainly need to be. We have to keep that in mind.
How do you find, you've been doing it 36 years now and a lot of success. How do you find that openness to new ideas? I mean, I've seen entrepreneurs who have been doing it 30, 40, 50 years. And sometimes they kind of think they got to figure it out, and they kind of feel like I've got my model. I do what I do. I stay in my lane, and a lot of times their business kind of does one of these numbers. Right. But how do you stay malleable and kind of like open and just always searching like a sponge, like you just described? I'm really curious.
Well, I think for me, it's because I've seen a lot of change. I will really date myself here. When I started in the business world, we used onion skin paper and carbon paper.
Now, onion skin paper wasn't actually made out of onions?
I don't know. It was very thin. It was very thin. And it kind of looked like an onion skin. I think it was.
I love it.
But, we went from that to Selectric typewriters that now you could go backwards and correct. I mean, I could type backwards as fast as I could type forwards. And then you went to fax machines. Well, actually, we started with mailograms to accept offers. And then we got fax machines. And we thought, oh my gosh, how are we going to do this now on the same day, right?
Yeah.
So I think when you've seen change and you've seen other companies not succeed because they didn't adapt or adopt, you find it's necessary if you want to keep working.
Yeah, I love that idea of looking back at history and seeing how kind of it informs change and everything. And I guess I would kind of also ask, looking back at history and looking kind of where we're today, what has prepared you, if I may even be so bold as to assume, what has prepared you for what the last 18 months has been like? Is there anything that you can look back at and say, gosh, maybe some experiences in the past have kind of prepared on how to lead through what's undoubtedly one of the most tumultuous periods in our industry's history?
Yes. Our country has been through crisis again before in the past, but this has been like nothing else that we've ever encountered, globally, not to this degree anyway. There have been pandemics, but they've been more isolated. And I think what prepared us is that we had already been working on all of those things that before the pandemic, we knew we needed to get to. So we knew you needed, your disaster recovery, and we knew there were a lot of things that were already in place. So we were able to take, when it first came about, we were able to take our employees off-site, 85% of them. We still had some that stayed on site, but they had a lot of square footage to spread out in.
Right.
We did that very quickly without any issues. So our infrastructure was already put into place. And I think just the experience of needing to change. Every crisis, no matter how small it was a crisis, and it caused you to change and make your processes better, more efficient. I'll get to that later, but I do think that we were much more prepared than even 5 to 8 years ago we would have been.
Sure.
Just because of all the security and things like that.
I'd love to hear your questions right now. Throw them in the comments. Hit that like button as well here. I'm really, really, really enjoying this conversation right now. We got a few people checking in here. Mike Falia, greetings from Southern California. Omaha's a great city, home of the College World Series. That's right. Melissa checking in. So great to see you together. Lynn Greenberg. Look at this. Lisa, hey, friend. How are you doing? Welcome to the team. Lisa's a new member of the NEI team. That's great. Let's see here. Rob checking in. Let's see if we got any questions coming in here. I'd love to hear your questions. Go ahead and leave them in there. Lizzie Beats in the house from Chicago. Steve Hoffman. Hope you're doing good, Steve. Can't wait to see you in Chicago. Steve says, how's your return to office going for NEI? So what was your strategy like?
We were probably a little different when it came to the return to the office.
Yeah.
When it started, when the pandemic started, we moved people out, but by fall, we were moving people back in. We had learned much more about the virus at the time. We had enough square footage where we had at least that 6-foot difference with walls around people. And in many instances, we had 8 to 12 feet in between people. We masked up, we controlled our environment based on everything that we had learned while the pandemic was progressing. We did not have one contact trace back to NEI as far as those individuals. I know,
knock on wood, really,
especially right now.
State's looking at me. I mean, she's looking at me. Oh, geez. So
we did come back to the office earlier than a lot. A lot of our clients aren't coming back till September. Some have started, starting in July. But the return to the office, it was an adjustment, just as it was an adjustment as you went out, right? It's change. You have to adapt to change.
Yeah.
And bringing it back, you have to really work with employees. We had signs up for them coming back. We were careful if we had any like cookies or anything like that. Everything was individually wrapped. I mean, they knew we were concerned about the pandemic and them getting sick, even if they were in the office. And again, you know, our conferences were closed down. We didn't have visitors in the office. So we were a low risk environment according to the CDC standards anyway. So it went really well. People have adopted, although we're working on, you know, we have people who would like to work from home on a hybrid type model. And then for some positions that works. And then we've offered it to some people who say, I don't want to work from home.
Right, right.
So it is really a mixed bag. And it's something that I'm sure, like all of you out there, you're working on finding what is that right balance.
Yeah. What advice might you give to leaders? Because there's a lot of leaders out here that watch the show. And what advice would you give to leaders who are trying to navigate this kind of murky, uncharted waters of navigating a return to office?
I think, you know, we hear this and it's probably way overused, but it's also very important, and that is to communicate. I communicate in an email to our all of our employees once a week during that whole COVID, what we're hearing, how we're interpreting it, what we're doing about it. And also for the return, we did the same thing. It's a lot of transparency. It's a lot of demonstration of care, which is real. You know, you care about your employees and you want to make it safe. But we really feel that there's a lot of benefit to being in the office. And as you transition back in, if you're being open, while some employees are not going to like coming back in, they still understand it and why you feel it's important to do. And if you're planning on doing some sort of a hybrid, which is what we're looking at, what positions does that make sense for? You want to be careful of security and things like that. But what makes sense, and can you do it? And you always have to build parameters around it because it's not for everyone. Not all employees will produce and work as effectively from home as they might in the office. So you have to have a whole program around it.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest fear, right? Is bring people back in, and what if they don't do the work? You know, and how do you evaluate performance, you know, remotely? I think, you know, decades of experience leading people, and we kind of get a feel for who's being productive and being a good team member as we walk around the office. We know that, you know, a noisy office is usually a busy, profitable, productive, collaborative, you know, thriving office, right?
Yeah.
You walk around an office in July and it's quiet, and that's probably scares a lot of people. I mean, July, you know, I mean, we're talking, this is when the hay is made, right?
That's right. And it's not quiet here.
Yeah.
There's a lot because we are all back in the office. There's a lot of talk going on. There's a lot of collaboration. There's a lot of sharing. There's a lot of training. So it feels good. And I think most people feel that way.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I'd love to hear your comments out there. Leave them in the comments there. Elena, I'd love to hear your questions here. Greetings from Maryland. Looking forward to the conversation. That's awesome. Look at Jack. Look at Jack. How you playing too nice. See, Jack was a little controversy, and usually Jack gives you. Randy is too nice, Jack. I can't mess with Randy. But Jack, go ahead. You can. Go ahead and leave a comment in there, Jack. Ask a question.
And you don't have to, Jack.
Yeah, you don't have to. You should do it. Let's see here. Al, still two of the best women leaders in the industry. Talking about you and Kate, I think. Or me and you. I don't know. Michael, quickly, Jack Jampel. Jack, you never hold back. Let's hear it. So Jack says, it has become appallingly obvious that our technology has exceeded our humanity by Albert Einstein. That is interesting. And he said that a long time ago. I know. He said that a long time ago. He said that, I'm assuming, about the nuclear bomb, which I saw STRATCOM, U.S. Strategic Command is here too. I don't know if that's where they push the button or not, but golly.
You know, I grew up just about a mile south of there on the highway, the main highway. My dad always said we didn't have anything to worry about because STRATCOM was right down there. And I always took comfort in that until I learned one time, he said, because if anything happens to STRATCOM, we're going to be gone so fast, nobody's going to know what happened.
They're at the epicenter. Oh my gosh. That is a scary thought, Dad.
Especially when you're a child.
Oh my
too
gosh.
much reality.
That's so crazy. Let's see here. People are loving the quote there. Millennials checking in. Thank you.
But if we go back to what Jack said, I think that speaks back to we have to remember always that we are dealing with people who are going through a very, very stressful time, especially during the pandemic, and especially now. It still is not easy to move from country to country and really even state to state. I mean, we have some challenges there. So we have to always remember that we are dealing with human beings who have strong emotions about what's happening to them at this time in their life. And we are when we say we're counselors, we really are counselors at time, helping them get through it, and especially family members.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a great point. And Vinny Valverde here. Hey, Vinny. Vinny says, Randy, absolutely love that you kept the lines of communication open during so much uncertainty. This is what differentiates great companies from others. Congrats to you and the NEI leadership team.
Thank you,
what was the importance? Yeah, Vinny's an amazing person. What was the importance of communication? What was that communication strategy like? I did notice some companies and leaders were out front and super vocal about things. Some companies kind of and leaders kind of clammed up a little bit and got quiet. What was your communication strategy going through this?
Well, I guess after a couple of weeks into it, we were trying to figure it out. I mean, it was all new to everybody, and we really didn't have any data to support decisions. So it took us a couple of weeks. And as you just talked to individuals, you could see their concern. Managers were hearing the same questions. And I thought, oh, we've got to get out in front of them and let them know what we're thinking, even if we don't have a plan yet. And that's kind of hard to do. And then sometimes when you do have a plan, it doesn't fit into other people's plans. So you have to be ready for the unintended consequences of those communications. But always what we have found is as long as they understand why you made a decision, you can work through it with people.
It's so fascinating, understanding why I made a decision. I also find that coming from a place of love and empathy and caring about people and where they're at and their journey through COVID, because I mean, so many of us were impacted on such a deep personal level through this time. There's so much pain going on, and I think understanding where people are coming from is huge as well. This is so interesting. I love my job. I get to talk to really smart leaders about how they're managing through things. Speaking about managing through things, as if the last 18 months wasn't enough tumult, turmoil, challenge, first time for everything kind of stuff. Jack has a great point about what is your prediction of how long the summer rush and other household goods issues will last. We're going to talk about supply chain a little bit here. So let's talk about household goods first. To Jack's question, what is your prediction of how long the summer rush and other household goods issues will last?
Well, when we think about the summer rush, I would say that the last 3 months we have seen a significant increase. So like 75% higher than the previous year.
Wow.
So that's a significant increase. And that's what all of our partners, and I'm sure with other companies out there as well, that's what they're trying to catch up to. Right now, we're seeing more of those who've been waiting on the sidelines to make their move start coming in and saying, okay, I'm ready to go now. So that is impacting the pipeline of customers, so to speak.
Right.
And what we've noticed in the last 3 weeks is that it's slowing down a little bit.
Now, are we talking about domestic U.S. kind of, or are we talking about international?
I'm going to talk about, that's our average of everything together.
Okay.
So international is outpacing domestic as far as increases. They're 100% plus.
Wow.
Yeah. So everybody is trying to catch up, get things done. And especially, I imagine there's some urgency just from having the Delta variant, and you don't know what's going to happen. So trying to get people in place before then.
So you're saying that people are treating this almost like a window, almost like an eye of a storm kind of thing, where like there's this window right now where like, for instance, I was supposed to go to the UK on Friday to go see my friends out in Alta Vita. I was supposed to go there on Friday, and I'm not sure the way things are heading if that window is going to be open.
Right.
Now we're hearing that I think I've heard from the U.S. administration that they're not looking at more closures and shutdowns, and I don't think people are really eager to go backwards. But we'll see what happens with the numbers,
Exactly.
right? And then the numbers may just force people's hands, especially with the holidays and things coming up, right? So this could be that window of a few months before we have to go through maybe a shutdown holiday season or something like that. Just can't imagine. But yeah, interesting.
We don't know. So Jack, even though I think that the summer rush usually goes until right at the end of August, the beginning of September.
Yeah, Labor Day usually, right?
I think that it might go a little bit longer if the borders and if movement stays, easier to do. If it starts to lock up, we might see it slow down a little bit before, but people are eager to go.
Yeah, I imagine. I mean, they've been sitting on this news that they're getting transferred, and they've been chomping at the bit, and now it's like, okay, here's our opportunity.
Yeah, and I should say people are eager to go. They have been eager to go. We have recently had a few turn down relocations because of the new variant. So we have seen, I don't know that it's only been a couple, and that's not significant, but it might be an indicator. It
might be a leading indicator.
Right.
Now, are those domestic or international?
International
assignments.
And it seems to start there, right?
Yeah, sure. Well, I think there's always a little more uncertainty with the international. It's a foreign place. There's a lot more unknown to that. I think it's even though we have issues in Florida here in the United States, let's just picking on Florida here for a moment. Moving to Florida is still a little more certain than moving to another country, right? You're like, I don't know how they're handling it over there and everything.
Yeah.
So super interesting. We got other comments coming in here. Keep these comments and questions coming. I love these. We will get to almost all of them, I promise. Lorraine checking in, surrounded by McDonald's. That's great. So much fun. Shabina's in the house. London. Jill Rush. Randy, you are so calm and well spoken. I could listen to you all day.
You're so nice.
Isn't that nice?
Jill's so amazing. Nice, Jill. Thank you.
Shout out to Jill. She's going to be on this week. She's going to be giving us tips and tricks for budgeted relocation. So tune in for that. She's amazing as well. Yeah, it's a good one. Let's see here. We got some good stuff here. Where do we go from here? This is why I get paid the big bucks. Let's see. Maureen says, once this COVID pent-up rush is over and taking into consideration the new acceptance for remote work, are you planning for relocation volume to contract, grow, or remain at pre-COVID volume? Maureen, I'm assuming you're talking about like 2022.
Yes.
Is 2022 going to look like 2019?
Well, I hope so, because in the first 3 months of 2020, I think everybody was set up for record-breaking years.
Oh my gosh, that's all I heard.
Yeah. Oh, it was just like, this is great.
Yeah.
And then, April came, in middle of March, April, when people started figuring out what was happening, and it all but shut down for the first couple months until we started to learn more about it. I do see we're tracking against 2019 as well, and we are falling within 5% of that right now. So I think it's possible we'll get back to pre-COVID volumes, and I certainly hope so. But we will be looking at, what does that business look like post-COVID? Right now we talk in terms of post-vaccine, but post-COVID, I think it might even look a little bit different.
So when you say, what does that business look like? What do you mean by that?
How much of it is driven by technology? What do the benefits look like? I believe companies will always support a level of relocation. I don't think it's hopeful thinking. I've never been accused of being too much of an optimist. Maybe, and I've been told I'm very much a realist. So I think that it's very possible, but I think home sales are not going to be as high. They've been going down year over year. So those are going to be reserved for the individuals that they need to move. I think there might be even more lump sums, but I think those lump sums, as individuals get older and need more help, will start growing into versions of lump sums and maybe even morph back into the regular
That'd be cool.
Relo.
That'd be neat. Yeah, because we saw
personal thoughts.
We've seen, and I'd love to hear your thoughts and predictions out there. I think we've seen a couple out there. Let's see some more. What are your thoughts on benefits? What are the benefit changes going to be like? What are the volumes going to be like? How are people gonna procure our services? Throw those in the comments. Hit that like button as well. you know, this is really super interesting. Let's see here what we've got. Vinny is hazarding a guess here.
Next
Jack,
year.
this summer rush will go into early next year. That is my prediction. Vinny goes on with his predictions. The crystal ball is out. Once it's out, you know.
Yeah, that's great.
My prediction is mainly due to the continued issues with COVID and companies further delaying their return to the office. Hashtag vaccinate. Yes, Vinny, let's just keep beating the vaccine drum. Let's get out of this thing. Mike Quigley, Vinny, summer will be winding down late September of 2022. Quigley is super bullish right now. Well, and some of this too, Quigley, and I'm going to shout you out, Quigley, because I know you do such a great job on the sales and business development end. Some of this has to do also, there's the macro factors of relocation volumes, and then there's the micro factors of your company and your client base. And the things that your company was doing leading into COVID, were you gaining momentum? Were you picking up market share? Were you doing new and exciting things? Were you acquiring other businesses? I mean, there's all sorts of stuff going on in the marketplace, right? And so, you know, and I think that COVID kind of accelerated a lot of trends.
Exactly.
Right. Very interesting.
It accelerated all the development and the new products and things like that. I think it was also Einstein that said, "Out of all crisis comes great opportunity." A lot of people have. The President Kennedy has also said that. And I don't mean to minimize at all the tragedy that many people have gone through because of this. But if I may, just from a business standpoint, just look at it from a business perspective, that is, you know, we were challenged and we knew that these various challenges were coming. And we were preparing for them at what I thought was kind of a quick timeline, but still reasonable, manageable. And all of a sudden in April of 2020, I mean, we had to be there. And I think companies did a wonderful job of stepping up and figuring out how to still service those, because relocations did go on, just not to all locations. So I do think that, you know, we were challenged, we met the challenge. And as we go forward, we're going to be smoothing that out, you know, making it more efficient, things like that.
Randy Johnson's great and timely conversation. Very interesting. Rob Zeitz, really great stuff. I can't think of any questions because you're covering these topics so well. That's awesome. Jamie, let's stay on this just for a moment and talk about, you know, the innovation coming out of COVID. I mean, obviously COVID remains tragic. But Jamie, you know, points out kind of the silver lining here, if we can. What is the biggest inadvertent side effect that has positively affected NEI since the beginning of COVID?
The side effect.
Yeah, or something maybe that came out of it. Maybe even something that we didn't see coming, or maybe something that continued or got accelerated through.
You know, well, I think we had an opportunity, as much as we wanted more volume, we had an opportunity there to take our resources. We took a lot of our subject matter experts and different resources internally from processes and team them up with IT to really work on how do we make it better for our employees, easier, more efficient? How do we make it easier, more efficient for our clients, for our transferring families? So there was a lot more collaboration going on internally because we had a little bit of time. And we also have a 2% efficiency initiative. That's something that we started
Tell us about that.
5 years ago.
Right.
I just challenged all of our employees to save 2%, make recommendations, and save 2% of their time, 9 minutes a day.
Wow.
And it's amazing how 9 minutes can add up. I mean,
I'd love to see some of those suggestions.
We have a ton of them.
I bet some people are like, well, if you just fill the coffee maker back up.
You know, there are some that were really simple. And
Right.
It was, you know, not everybody knew they existed. So there's a lot of low-hanging fruit when you first start doing that. I mean, I think the first year that everybody was able to save 6%.
Wow.
That was huge. So that's low-hanging fruit.
Huge.
And we're averaging about 4% after that a year.
Per year. Wow.
And some of that is in technology development.
In 10 years, you're going to be 100% profit.
Yeah. Well, I'm talking about time, not profit.
Time.
Yeah. So, and the really cool thing about that initiative is we all want that, right? We all want the ability to be more efficient,
Sure.
not have to spin our wheels.
That's right.
Not have to have our clients spin their wheels
Yeah.
and get frustrated. And when I started this, we set up a team, and I've never been to a meeting since. This is 5 years ago. It's still going on.
Wow.
It's self-sustaining because the employees want it. They want to be a part of that so much.
Wow.
So I'm very grateful to our employees for doing that. And I think it speaks a lot to, if you go to others in your organization, they do have value to offer. You just have to ask.
You know, that's so true. I mean, if somebody asks you, how do you say, 9 minutes a day?
Yeah.
You can come up with a handful of good ways to do that.
Right.
You know, a lot of times people just don't ask that question.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they don't want to hear the answer sometimes. This is great. This is fantastic. Bloomberg, we also had the opportunity to test our business continuity plan in real life.
That's true.
Yep.
That's true.
Rob saying, I think we all learned we could be much more flexible and adaptable than we thought was possible. Yep. Very cool. Alan's loving the conversation. That's awesome. Thank you so much. Let's see here. Oh gosh, we got some good ones coming in here. All right, let's see. We got a question here from LinkedIn user. And you know what? I bet this is Brian Smith out of Illinois. I'm just going to go out on a limb here. Brian, if it's you, we love you. If it's not you, we also love you. What I've seen as an opportunity is the review of mobility policies and programs to build in more flexibility, greater focus on the truly human aspects. Yes. Are you seeing this with your clients here, reviewing of mobility policies, programs? Yes. And is it for the better, or is it with the idea of cost cutting and maybe kind of from a limiting perspective?
Well, companies are charged with cutting costs. There's no doubt about that. And we have to come up with ways for them to do that. And they don't always want to cut it from their employees through their policy benefits.
No, they don't.
So we have to look through every opportunity for those efficiencies. But, with the DE&I efforts that are going on, really across the board at some level, being right-sized for companies of all sizes, correct? I think that people are really paying much more attention to what those policies are, and are they meeting the unique needs of individuals who are moving. We have different types of benefits that we've been working with clients on to do just that, and restructuring our policies. There's a lot of advisory and consulting that's been going on in the last year, and I think that's going to continue. And not only policies, but from an RFP perspective, there was a lot of extra time to do some of those things. So that kept us busy in 2020 also.
Yeah, it's really, really interesting stuff. I mean, that's the work that we hope that we're doing. But, it's hard to do that kind of work when you're afraid. We all think, well, hey, it's a great time to retool. But, when we're thinking about, okay, are we going to be around in a year? It's hard to think about that. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, this goes along. You asked me before, how do you keep that going?
Yeah.
You have to think too, at least at NEI, we are a part of a company that's 166 years old. And one of their original tenets was to believe in the future. And that's how you become 166 years old.
Wow.
So
that's deep.
We don't even think any other. That's just.
Is the opposite true? If you don't believe in the future, you're pretty much done.
Oh, I think so.
Right.
In times like this,
it's kind of self-fulfilling either way, doesn't it?
Exactly.
Wow, that's simple but poignant. Sandra, clear outsourcing ideas within a company, including those outside the area of specialty, has been a game changer in my experience. It's always exciting knowing that there will be different perspectives and suggestions that you never thought of before. Very cool. You mentioned the diversity, equity, and inclusion, and anybody that watches the show knows that's really near and dear to my heart. And Randy, I think, and I'm going to go out on a limb, I don't know this for a fact, but I never stopped this LOVE+RELO. I think that NEI might be the largest or one of the largest certified woman-owned businesses in the relocation space?
I believe we are, I can say confidently that we are a large women's business enterprise certified by the Women's Business, the National
We
Council.
Bank, Women's
Yeah.
Business Enterprise.
Yeah.
I forget the rest
National
of it.
Council.
National Council. Thank you.
And I believe we're the largest when it comes to the WBE for relocation, I believe. When you're looking at just relocation management
RMCs,
companies.
yeah, sure.
Right. Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible.
So, and when we became certified, we did it at the request of a client because the spend was important to them, and they had diversity goals back in 2000.
2000.
In 2000.
21 years ago.
So that got us down, started on that path, and we thought, well, why not?
Do you see it growing or not? I mean, I'd like to hope that DE&I initiatives within supplier diversity, because there's DE&I within the organization, right?
Exactly.
There's diversity within the organization, creating inclusive workplaces. And then when I think of equity, I mean, yeah, you can talk about it in terms of inside the organization, but I also think about equitable partner relationships.
Exactly.
And supplier diversity and how we deal with our community, our external partner customers. Where are we in this journey as an industry, in your opinion?
Well, I think that there's a lot of focus on it right now within our industry, within many industries. For NEI, we do believe in paying it forward, as you might say. Our goal is to have 25% of our spend go through diverse companies, and preferably certified. So if you're not certified, getting that certification, some companies, some of our corporate clients will only accept certified. So you got to go through a national organization, whether it's the MBE, the WBE,
and MSDC.
Veterans, yeah, all of those.
Yeah.
And some will accept self-certified, but not everybody. I do think that making that commitment. Most of the contracts will say you need to have 5% of the spend under diversity, right? Well, 100% is under for us, but we go on to make the commitment that we're shooting for 25%. And last year we were at 23%.
So just so those of you who don't know out there, and first of all, shout out to all of the diverse suppliers checking in. We got a bunch of folks out here. Look at Kathy, says we just became We Bank certified.
Great.
Awesome. Sharon saying is awesome. Girl power. Hashtag women at the helm. Very cool. Elena Anderson DeLay, also a woman-owned business. That's awesome. Give yourself a shout out if you're a WBE, an MBE. Throw it in there and let us know. But just so people know out there, you get first tier spend, which through a relocation company it would be 100% through NEI. Right. But then there's what's called second tier spend.
Exactly.
And that's where you're trying to kind of filter those dollars down. And organizations can kind of count it twice. I mean, they kind of manage your first tier spend, and then you manage your second tier spend as well. And they report out on that. And there's things like the $1 billion roundtable, which is Fortune 500 companies and beyond that have, committed to spending $1 billion a year with diverse companies. And so it's really interesting. So how do you manage to that? Like, I mean, it's interesting that you're part of the supplier diversity strategy for your clients, obviously. Well, I say obviously, maybe they know, maybe they don't know, maybe they hire you for other reasons.
Some of them don't know.
They don't even know.
Right.
You're like, hey, by the way, did you know all this money was going to be diversity? And then the diversity manager can just take the rest of the year off because then they just check their box for the year and they just say, well, hey, boss, hit my goal. It's May. I'm going to Aruba. I'll see you later.
Right.
But how do you then pay that forward and manage that number down for your second tier?
Well, a lot of that has to do with Al's department for
looking at you, Al.
Partner relations. And what we do, we track everything. We keep track of certifications, send them in if you have them. They're important. We keep it in our system. When we are placing orders, all of the account executives and the teams have access to that information, and they'll know. Al's group goes through, and Lon, who you talked with earlier today, He goes through to do all the qualifying and making sure that our teams know about the suppliers that are, have a diverse certification so that we can include them in our goals. So I think, again, it's communication and using your resources to make the information available to your employees.
Yeah, I got one more question on this. We got people checking in over here, shouting out. Shout out your company if you are a diverse supplier in the global mobility space. Switch Places, WeBank certified. Very cool. That's awesome. Jamie shouting out Murphy's Corporate Housing is WeBank certified. Walker Transfer Powell certified since 2005. That's awesome. I'd love to see more MBEs, minority business enterprises as well in this space.
Right.
What advice would you give to entrepreneurs or prospective entrepreneurs out there who are thinking about starting a business? Maybe women, maybe minorities out there that are thinking, hey, I think it's time for me to maybe take the leap, or maybe they've started already, but they're really trying to get traction.
Mm-hmm.
Because I talk to a lot of them and they say, gosh, Ben, we try really hard. We think we do a really great job. We have great culture. We have some really good kind of boutique clients, but we really have trouble kind of getting traction with the larger corporates or the larger RMCs. Maybe there's some really challenging supplier requirements out there from the security and insurance, et cetera. Mm-hmm. How long you've been in business, financial stability. What is some advice you would give to people out there?
Well, first, know your business. You need to know it inside and out because you need to be able to answer any question that gives you credibility right away. And then to partner up or develop an alliance with a credible partner, right? That you can work with to try to develop that business that will help you, you'll help them, that sort of thing. The certification always helps, and attending the conferences, that does help. There are regional, just like ERC, there are regional conferences, there's national, there are 2 national ones. One's a little bit bigger than the other. For WeBank, I'm not sure, and
NMSDC does it national. There's always, there's usually a state level, regional. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So there are lots of opportunities out there, and then you'll find a lot of the corporate clients, they sponsor these types of events. So you might go to, like down south, some of our clients, Duke Energy, they sponsor the regional. And so 3 or 4 other energy companies might be involved in that. And you have the opportunity to meet individuals with the companies, with the corporate clients there. So I think, using your resources and those places that you get certified through, they have lots of resources available to you to help you. But finding the one that's going to help you move forward, move your business forward is really kind of critical. And we have several of those individuals on the diversity sides of some of our clients. And it took a little while to develop that because, like so many things, DE&I, diversity is understanding what the definition is. E is the opportunities, right? Mm-hmm. But inclusion is bringing those companies or individuals into the business. And being certified it'll open doors for you, but it's not going to win you the business.
That's the thing. Yeah, that's the thing. It's not going to win you the business, and you're not, you're still not getting anything you don't deserve out there because it gets you invited to the RFP or whatever. But it won't win you the business unless you truly are best in class. One thing I would say out there to any service providers who are watching this, who are certified, we have a few others here checking in with us. Michael Cadden there checking in, and thanks to Rob Zeitz over there at Air Inc. shouting out his DE&I Mobility Pulse survey. Check that out as well. I would say, if you're not getting traction, or if you go to these conferences and they say, gosh, you're in relocation. Well, we have an RMC, or maybe we're looking to purchase from an RMC, but you just do corporate housing, or you just do moving, or you just do this thing, but we don't really purchase that thing. We purchase relocation, and you don't do all of relocating. You do that thing. Get a meeting with the buyer, get a meeting with the supplier diversity person, get a meeting with the stakeholder, and then you can also team and partner with. And Randy did not ask me to say this, but you can partner with companies like Randy's and say, well, if diversity, equity, or supplier diversity is a big thing for you, I know some great partners. partners, you know, and you could bring in someone like Randy's company that can do the whole thing. And of course you can handle just the piece. So just another strategy out there, because a lot of times you run into it and they say, well, we purchased this as a big one-stop, you know, single source relo thing. And we don't just purchase your line separately. And so it's good to have partners that are aligned with you like that. So
Right.
I'd love to start a mini version of the $1 billion roundtable in relocation. That's one of my dreams to do, is a $1 million round or a $10 million round table, where all these $1 billion roundtable companies out there, and they're big names.
Yes, they're
Big names, but it doesn't always translate to relo. Relo's not really aware, or maybe they're aware of the headlines, but they're not really, it's not influencing decisions.
Right.
I would love to get a mini $1 billion roundtable going on in global mobility, where we can elevate diverse suppliers who can really kind of show off their what they can do, and just create a space for that conversation.
I think that'd be great. I think it would be, because you're right. We find that procurement definitely has an interest in getting a diverse supplier in the RFP or the RFI. So we definitely have the definition. We're aware of diversity needs and what we need to do. And the opportunities are starting, the doors are starting to open for the opportunities. And now we really have to prove ourselves to get the inclusion.
Yeah. This has been a lot of fun, Randy. I really so enjoyed this. It has been such an honor to come to Omaha, to sit here in your office amongst the horses and all the wisdom. It's been a lot of fun. Randy, would you maybe leave us with a final thought? What is something maybe we should be thinking about as we go on our way today?
I think it's that we are all in this together, and that we're better companies than we were yesterday, and we'll be a better company tomorrow than we are today, as long as we keep working together. And that's even with our corporate clients as well.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. And if we made it this far, you know, we're doing pretty good.
That's right. That's right.
Thank you everyone for being here. We couldn't do it without you. Thank you for getting active in the comments and your questions. Hit that like button, hit that little green applause button, and give Randy a virtual round of applause, a little send off here. We appreciate you so much. Hit that heart button, a big heart out there to Omaha out there. There you go. There you go. Appreciate y'all for being here and taking time out of your day. Don't forget, tomorrow we are not on air, but we will be back on Thursday with Jill Rush giving us those tips for capped relocation, budgeted moves, things like that. Can't wait to see you then. Randy, again, this is wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Ben. Thanks for having me. I enjoyed it much more than I thought I might. These are not